In terms of trends in the marketplace today, over the past several years, obviously, there's been a big trend for globalization, to find the right market for to handle the transaction. And I think that the right market 5 years ago is not the right market today. So markets move around based on the availability of labor in the market, the price of the labor, the exchange rates. There's a lot of factors that go into that. And I think that when you pick a market in the globe to put the work in, you've got to take all those factors into account. So you've got to look at not only what things are like today, but where they're going to be at in 5 years. Because when you ramp up that operation, it's going to stay there for a while. And then I think the second biggest trend that is kind of overshadows everything is the technology support. And so there's continuously more ways to support the agent and what they're doing in their job, so that they know can enable them to handle the call better. And then there's also technologies that are actually interface with the customer in different ways. An easy example would be like the movement from voice to email to chat. And so as you move down that path, in those paths, you offer more channels to work with your customers on, and you're able to service them in the channel that they want to be contacted in. So if they want to do voice calls, you've got that available. If they want email, you can do that. If they want chat, you can do that. And I think that some of the areas in chat are some of the most, offer the most returns for both in customer stat improvement and in cost affordability, because you will be able to more efficiently handle the chat session with a customer and get information out to them faster. They don't have to wait in line in the queue typically to do that. And then on the outsourcer side, we can build a knowledge base for answers. We can much better manage the interchange with a customer in a written format like that. Then beyond the chat, even is accessing people on their mobile device and being proactive. So if we know there's a problem coming, either in it could be a problem in the network, a problem in servicing your customers, things you want to get notification out, we can actually do email blast, or we can do blast to their wireless phones. We can do blast to their Blackberries to tell them here's what the news is, or here's what the information is, and we can be proactive in getting that out. And that way you eliminate the call, you eliminate the email, the chat sessions, and you take it in a proactive response. Several, I guess, competing objectives, when you're running a customer care operation today, that you've kind of got to balance between. And probably the three biggest ones are, number one would be to increase the revenue per customer, or just to make the contact center a revenue driver for the company. And you've got to come up with the ways, the techniques, the training, the methodologies, and the technologies to allow you to be able to do that. And then the second thing is, while you're trying to increase the revenue, you've got to balance that with your quality metrics. Make sure you're achieving the service levels and doing all the things necessary to hit the quality metrics on your call. And then the third thing you've got to do in balancing those two is you've got to somehow decrease the overall cost of the contact. And so, it's a balancing act of a trick there to try to get more revenue without sacrificing your service levels, and to try to balance your service levels with maintaining a cost competitiveness in the market. And so we find a lot of companies struggle with these three, and there will be some swing back and forth depending on where the company's at in their progress down the path on those three. But I think those are the three biggest drivers. Outsourcers have a great advantage of being at multiple places in the marketplace at the same time. So they're working across different verticals. They're working with clients who have multiple challenges, where they may have challenges with service levels, they may have challenges with cost problems, they may have challenges with revenue. And we gain a lot of experience by being able to address those problems, and then taking kind of best practices as they work, as we gain our knowledge base across to other clients. And then, so I think in terms of achieving the basic service levels and the basics of what the center should be able to deliver, we can do that very well. And I think that the biggest thing an outsourcer can do is layer it on top of that. Then you have the advantages we bring in terms of the latest technologies, the latest in the locations you should be in. So, in terms of the global footprint you have to choose from, which areas would offer you the optimum return and the best long-term viability for the languages that you're interested in. And I think when you layer the technology and the geographic diversity across the top of that equation, along with hitting the basics, then you pretty much got it captured in what you expect for in a good outsourcer. I'll use a recent example from Manila. I was just there, and there's a client who came to us and wanted us to create. It was a little bit special request, I guess, to create a dedicated center just for them, and they wanted the center to be branded as the client center, primarily branded as theirs, secondarily branded as a WNS. And so we did all that for them. We created a center, supported by our operational team in Manila, and the center is branded as the client center. And I think the client wanted this because they wanted the agents to feel a great loyalty to their brand name, and they wanted them to see that even though the agents were outsourced, they wanted to see that the agents had a loyalty and an affinity to their brand over and above our brand alone, which was fine with us. And so the center was brought up in record time. It was built from the ground up in a little over 90 days, from the time of the contract signing to the time of the first call. And it's hitting all of its metrics in terms of service level, and was just recently achieved #1 in customer sat among the other centers that it competes with. So I think they're doing a great job down there, and it just proves the efficiency of our model and what we can bring to the table when we're asked. Another example of where we've got some great success is there's a couple of clients that we had operations in India, and they were running successfully for several months and years, but we needed to implement a little bit of business continuity disaster planning just in case there was a problem. So we moved part of the operations to Manila. And some pleasant surprises were that the operations moved to Manila not only achieved the service levels and were on par with the operations that have been running for quite a while in India, but actually in cases beat the customer service and the customer sat levels that we'd experienced out of India. So I think for an operation to come up like that in a new market, with being able to beat some customer sat scores that had been from an established operation, is a testament to the operational skills we've got there. Well, I think the first thing a company's got to make sure they have is senior management commitment, because they're fundamentally adding direction to the company that may be a little bit different than what they've gone in the past. So they're going to want to make sure that the senior management is behind the move and is supportive of the move and gets the word out of their organization that this is the way the ship is going. And then I think the second thing behind that is to make sure that there's a good cultural fit with the outsourcer that you pick. So I know that most companies go through an RFP process and they figure out who's everybody answers the questions right and they've got the pricing right, and all those things are kind of quantitative things you can look at. But then you've got to look at the qualitative items on there too, as to how well do we mesh up with our outsourcing partner? Do we have similar cultures? Do we have similar values? Or are people work together well? Is it something that over the long term that we're going to be able to sustain and be successful at together? And I think that's a very important part of the equation. Because I think after you run the RFP, you find out that you've got your choice of 3 or 4 or 5 different choices out there that are all very good. And what are the differentiating factors? And I think that's where you've got to look for the fit and the culture between the two companies, and is it the right move for you? I think that after that, then you want to take a look and see, one thing you want to look for in your outsourcing partner is the ability to not just do the work you're tasked with today, or that statement of work, and you're supposed to do this exact little boundary of services, but you want to have that outsourcing partner lead you into the future. So you want them to tell you where's the future, the direction I need to go, and work as a partner with the client company to lead them and to say, here's where we need to go in the future, here's what you need to do to be, to keep abreast of changes in the marketplace, to keep abreast of new technology developments, and to really work with the client to implement those things. I think that managing through a change process is always stressful on an organization, and so people are going to have to do maybe different jobs. Some people may have expanded jobs. Some people jobs may not exist after it's done. So I think that both teams need to be aware of the fact to try to move through the process quickly. Not only does it saves money to move faster. Transition plans that take a long time cost more. The more duplicate work you have involved is a cost for the company that a lot of times can be eliminated. And plus, but I think the biggest thing is just the strain on the organization. So I think anytime you implement change, you've got to kind of move through it quickly, get people to let go of what they had before, get them focused on the to-be process, and get them moved over there. And that's some of the most successful ones I've seen have moved through that process pretty quickly.